How's it going out there, music maker? My name's Griffin, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the chords to the fiddle tune standard June Apple. This is what we would call kind of a modal tune, where the tonic center of this one is A, but it's actually kind of built out of the D major scale. So this would be what we call like an A mixolydian tune. So a lot of old-time fiddle tunes and bluegrass tunes kind of take on that mixolydian mode, and I think this is a really great example of those type of tunes. Also, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to spice up the basic bass strum rhythm pattern with some walking bass notes that move between chords. I think this is a great kind of second step to build on top of that bass strum pattern before we start adding all sorts of up strums and other things like that. If you have a solid foundation on the bass strum and can walk some bass notes, the groove is going to be so good that people won't care if you're doing some of those up strums in between, and you can leave that for your later practice. Before we go ahead and dive into the lesson though, if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button below and clicking the bell notification button, that's a great way to keep up with all the new content that we're releasing every week here on Mandolin Secrets. Also, if you're interested in a more enhanced learning experience with PDFs of tab and sheet music for all of these tunes, as well as backing tracks, play-along tracks, and other educational tools, check out the link below to the Mandolin Secrets Guitar Club. There you'll find all of the stuff I talked about and more, plus access to our community where you can ask questions to me, Magnus Zetterlund, as well as the rest of the Mandolin Secrets Guitar Club community. Alright, my friend, let's go ahead and dive into talking about some of the chords to June Apple. So I've chosen to play this one out of open A position. I really like having the open A and the open E string for my bass notes on the bass drum here. I feel like it's a more powerful sound than capoing on the second fret and playing out of G. That being said, that is a totally valid way to play this tune, and honestly how most kind of flat pickers would choose to play this one, capoing and playing out of second position. But it's always good to work out those open position chords and scale kind of patterns. So since I decided to teach the melody to this one in open A, we're keeping the rhythm there as well. Okay, if you don't know already, this is the main A chord that we're going to be using for today. All of our fingers are in the second fret, and it starts with our middle finger on the second fret of the D string, index on second fret of the G, and then ring finger on second fret of the B, and we strum we pick our open A note, strum the chord, and then pick the open E string and strum the chord. That's your alternating bass pattern. Moving on, we've got a G chord in this tune. This is one that you've seen on the channel quite a bit, right? So middle finger on the low E string at the third fret, index finger second fret of A, ring on the third fret of B, and then pinky on the third fret of the high E. And then the last chord for this tune is a D chord. We've got index on the second fret of the G, ring on the third fret of B, and middle on the second fret of the high E string. And for that one we do an open D strum and then an open A strum for our alternating bass. And I forgot to show you the G chord alternating bass. So that one's just low E string, strum, and then open D, strum. Now what's cool about this tune today, or difficult and challenging depending on how you look at it, is that I've decided to throw some bass run notes that lead us from one chord into another in the rhythm example that I've shown here today. This is really common in old-time guitar playing especially, but a lot in early bluegrass and stuff too. So this is a skill that you'll definitely want to know how to utilize in your rhythm playing. The main figure that I'm using to walk between chords in here is in the second measure of the A part of the tune. So in that measure, we actually only get half of a bass drum pattern. So an A and then a strum, and then we're going to use that low E string to walk up to the root note of our G chord. So for the last two beats, it's going to be like this. It'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're just hitting your low E string and then the second fret of that low E string with your index finger, which puts us in a good position to land right on our G chord and go into a bass drum pattern there. So I'm going to show you that really slowly. This is what the first 3 measures of the A part to June Apple sound like with the rhythm guitar. So 1, 2, ready, go. Walk. So that's our first bass run that we're looking at here today. And we actually use that a couple of times in the A part. So in bars, I guess it would be 6, we're actually kind of moving into the G chord with that same kind of motion. We actually do the exact same thing in the B part as well, but this one gets a little trickier because in the 3rd bar of the B part, we've got our G chord, right? But then for beats 3 and 4 of that bar, we're going to walk into our D chord. And I choose to do that by hitting a B note on my A string and then a C sharp note. Those are just taken from the D major scale, and they lead right into that D note really well. So one more time, it's the 2nd fret of the A string, the 4th fret of the A string, and then into our D chord. So this is what the first 4 bars of the B part sounds like. Instead of just that one walk into the G, we're going to turn it right around and do a walk into the D afterwards. So here it is real slow. 1, 2, ready, go. And that's the only place in the tune that I've chosen to do this, because that's the only place we get that D chord. So definitely try and practice those bass run patterns before we dive into the demonstration. You'll want to have those down real nice and fluid. Some tips for you on that: I'm using all downstrokes on those walking bass notes. So don't worry about doing upstrokes or anything like that. Downstrokes are really powerful, and since these happen as quarter notes, we would want to phrase them as downstrokes anyway to get a nice, powerful, clean, bell-like tone out of those notes. All right, my friend, I think that's all the information that we need to know in order to attack the chords to June Apple here. So let's go ahead and dive into a slow demonstration at 100 beats per minute. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, my friend, let's go ahead and dive into a faster version of these chords. If you felt good about that 100 beats per minute, let's try and jack the tempo up to 160 and see how we do there, okay? Let's dive in. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, music maker, that is it for the chords to June Apple. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave us a comment below and let us know what you think about those bass runs. I love throwing bass runs into my rhythm playing and find that it adds a lot of extra punch, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. Okay, music maker, that's it. Thanks so much for tuning into this video. We'll catch you in the next one.